All right. Welcome. It looks like we have we have 3 people logged in. Welcome to the first session of IT254. I assume you can hear me.
Yes, good morning.
Yes. Okay. All right, great. So I should be sharing. You should be able to see. Yep, you should be able to see the spreadsheet. All right, the PowerPoint package is pulling off a moment. All right, so welcome to the first week of IT254. I'm your professor for this particular class, an adjunct professor for CTU. I also am in industry, working full time. So we will go over what this class will be about, how it's going to be helpful to you both personally and for future business needs. The battle rhythm for the class, we'll go over the weekly agenda, talk about some topics. I'll give you some lecture material, and we'll have the pieces involving Telepath that you have to work through each week. We'll have 8 different lessons within Telepath, plus discussion boards you need to work through. Each chat will be somewhere between half an hour to 1 hour in length, probably closer to an hour lately. Hope this will be useful to you. A little bit about myself. I've been actually working in the computer industry actively since the really early 90s when I did internships, and my first official job not working for a university was in 95. So I've done data center architecture, cybersecurity, big data, computer analysis. I actually completed my doctorates last year in computer science for cybersecurity. And I've been teaching here at CTU as an adjunct professor part-time since 2017. This particular class being the one that they most frequently have me teach. Our live chats will be at this time each week. If you need to get hold of me outside of the live chats, you can always email me. Just got back from a very wet climate in Philadelphia, so I'm still having sinus issues and whatnot. Yeah, so the primary homework will be done through IntelliPath. 60%, 66% of your grade will be based on IntelliPath. So, but if you need to get hold of me, you can either email me, whatever. I will typically read emails late at night. Because of my job, I am not allowed access to a cell phone or my private email during the day. So, but there's always this time in the morning as our in-class time. You can always ask questions. Feel free to ask everything. My expectations is you do tend to do a lot of work outside this class, especially because it's IntelliPath based. So having that that piece in mind, it's really a self-paced course with my helping you to. Do you get to that point? Okay. Apparently, we have a second Eric Jensen rejoined us. The 2 books that will be in this class is the worksheets books. They're both accessible by this hyperlink. You will be able to get the hyperlinks available to you as needed. If you go through the CTU portal, it only gives you the links for the one through the normal book structure. The other one is under learning materials. So you'll have to go looking for it if you do it on the portal. Otherwise, you can get it from this PowerPoint package that'll be uploaded as a PDF that you can then access and reference at a later date. Like I said, the IntelliPaths are worth 67% of your grade. Discussion boards are worth 33% of your grade. It is possible that if you attend the live chats or if you submit a summary of the live chats after the fact, it is possible to earn as much as 110% grade because the live chats themselves are not considered they're considered extra credits as opposed to part of your normal coursework grade. if there's anything that I don't explain well, feel free to definitely email me or ask me of it. Oftentimes I will add those types of questions to these packages that I use in future classes. What also is referred to as a hanging chat is that it wasn't well described. So therefore it needed to be completed or a better execution of it needed to be given. Your initial discussion boards are due on Thursdays. The responses are due on Sundays. The initial board is intended to be a couple of paragraphs that answer the questions that are posed, and the follow-on responses are your commentary to other people's posts inside of that. So responding to your own main post with commentary on your main post, I will catch on those things. So, but it's a great way for you to get there and get to know your students, get to know the other people in your class. After all, each of y'all are helping each other too, as well as working together towards a common goal. So the first discussion board is primarily about giving me a chance to get to know you and your background, what your goal is in life, why you're at CTU, what it is you're hoping to earn, and ultimately, what is it you'd like to get from out of the learning of this class. So this class is going to be about spreadsheets, Excel being a fascinating tool that's highly adaptable to millions of different situations. It is more than just a ledger, though it was based on ledgers. It is more than just mathematics. It is based on lots of different things. But so we'll get into pieces like what's pivot tables, what's graphs, how to get graphs, how to use formulas, and the like within Excel. So each week we'll go over a quick reminder of where you are in the status of the class. This is an example I used from back then. So the pieces in the green are what's due this week. The pieces in gray are what's due next week. You'll see blue and yellow show up. Those are past things that are due. Everything that becomes yellow then is considered a having the 10% late penalty applied. Each week inside of a telepath, there'll be 8 different assignments that you'll have to work through. Those different pieces on the learning map. This is the week unit 1 learning map here. So you'll have like fonts and alignments, numbers, formatting, how to handle rows and columns, and some basic information about formats, about formulas. Unit 2, they get into things like text functions, how to create tables and subtotals. Into unit 3, you get into things like how to build charts, how to start, how to make graphical representation of your data. And then we'll get into things like pivot tables, which is how you take your data sets and you do deep dive analysis into those. And then we'll get the last few things that are primarily about math, which is exponents, the min, max, range, ranking, logic functions, product, and the like, right? Just a reminder that the late policy is if it's 1 to 7 days late, it's a 10% penalty. Anything greater than a week late per policy of CTU should be 0 points unless I agree to either an adjusted date or I decide to waive that particular clause. So best if you keep up to your doing your weekly homework. Also a reminder that in the first 2 weeks, any course, if you don't do any work on any course, you can be withdrawn from the session if you don't do anything in the first 2 weeks, per Title IV financial aid requirements. So now I mentioned that the PDFs will be available. So this particular set that you're looking at will be uploaded as a PDF. It'll be available in learning materials, something relative you can go and grab and download. You can use it for reference material. There's a lot of good stuff that will be in these PDFs here, as well as a reminder of this stuff. So, but also, you can always go in there and download. You can download these videos, download that, and I've actually done my past IT254 classes are available on YouTube and the YouTube channel that I put together. So if you wanted to take the time and learn into the future to get ahead, you certainly can do that too. Or if you need a different perspective on the same material, at the time. You can always try checking out a pass of the same week and seeing if you can get that particular piece. So the generally the grades will be based on a 75% scale for the discussion board, 55 of which applies to your primary post, and 20 then applies to the secondary 2 follow-up postings at 10 each. So you'll see that over time. It is worth it to make sure you do your primary posting, because if after all it's worth 33% of your grade, and it's impossible to really pass this class unless you do some of those minimally. In the discussion board, there's also going to be Muse links, or in the PowerPoint package will be Muse links that'll give you to additional course material and basically textbook material that was developed specifically for CTU and for these courses by a group of us professors in the past. That will be a good supplement to your textbook. So any questions about any of that that I talked about so far? Okay. Got to vote in no. All right. So spreadsheets. So we've been using ledgers, and ledgers in general have gone back to the idea of even the Romans, where they were people trying to track whether or not certain groups have paid their taxes each year to the Roman Empire, and they'd go around and tax collectors would pick up their things because based on a ledger they would maintain. Well, VisiCalc was the first computerized ledger, and it was later introduced to Apple II and IBM PCs back in the day. That eventually got replaced by Lotus 123, which is an improved version of trying to make a ledger itself. Excel eventually became a different alternative to Lotus 123, and is now today considered one of the primary productivity applications used within businesses. And the reason is because it's highly extensible to like every kind of situation. There is hundreds of pre-built formulas within it. There is lots of different capability in there. The ease of its usage and the ability to scale to just about any situation is why the concept of spreadsheets themselves have grown in cement intensely within the use of a business scenario. So people can use it for inventory. They can use it for tracking of user data, your billing data, your payroll data. We have a welcome Kimsley. So, okay, so it is free to use as a student. You have access to all of the Office products. So to acquire Excel and install it on your computer, you have to go through that link inside the CTU portal, download the install package and license key, and therefore you can turn it on. You can also use them on tablets. You can get Excel for your phone now, or alternative, if you don't want to use Excel, there's another product called Google Sheets that is a free, fully functional spreadsheet. The only difference that I've been able to find between Google Sheets a year ago when I last did this versus Excel was the ability to create pivot tables that can be used then to represent charts. So once they completed adding that functionality, then I don't know if there's anything that Google Sheets can't do that Excel does do. So within a spreadsheet, there's 4 types of things that are labels, right? We have labels, we have values, we have dates, and formulas. These are the kinds of things that represent what your text is, or your data that you're looking at is, right? It's usually laid out in a tabular form. And I'll flip over to here, right? The example as this being an example of a tabular form of data. And you have, in this case, a couple of course names. You have scores that students have earned. Say it's one student is doing all these scores across 4 different classes. And you can then use formulas to determine, based on the score entered into individual project 1 through 5. Expect that. Hmm. 1 through 5. You can have that class, you earn that score. Well, this you can give you your average of the grade for all your classes of that. You could also figure out the summation by using a sum function of a range of scores. So out of potentially a range of 5 different scores at up to 100 points, you, in this case, that scored like 425 points, you could take that same thing, same range, divide it by 100, actually divide it by 5, not by 100, and make it a percentile. You could then figure out, well, in that case, I got an 85%, which is effectively what this is trying to say right here. So in that case, you could then you can quite literally spread your formulas. So once you figure out how your math will work with that spreadsheet, you can apply that many times very rapidly across larger sets of data in order to achieve that same function, right? So now if you were to say, all right, instead of using the sum function like that, you can figure out, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Oh, it's because it's divided by 4. You could figure out overall how you did for your entire class, which for all your classes, you would, in this case, you would have done 82% success, right? So that gives you a very basic look at how some of the values are. In this case, I was just using numerical data with some basic formulas to do some different pieces, right? So yeah. A couple people showing up. A little on the late side. So there we go. Okay. Now inside of Excel, there's a thing called the ribbon. The ribbon has to do with all of these pre-built functions across the top. They're built in the groups such as file, home, insert, page layout, etc. And they help provide the ability to do functions within the worksheet itself. A worksheet and a workbook are in that the workbook is the file that holds multiple worksheets. The worksheets themselves are the things that hold the data and or tables that you be working within, right? So, but like I said, people have used it to build out way to do tracking, inventory. I use it at my own personal usage has been for personal finance, working, paying off debt, tracking payoff of a house, amortization schedules, tracking the eBay sales, and the like. So, but yeah, I mean, people get into business logic. They figure out how sales work. They figure out how people are trending. You can use data that you learn to basically run an entire business. You can use Excel as really the only tool you need to run an entire business because you can get into everything like payroll, taxes, the whole bit. So it's all about how you set up formulas and set up your data to make it understandable. Sorry, apparently. Apparently I'm having lots of people get notifications suddenly. All right. So there's the undo button, the cut, copy, paste, or you can move cells around. So if I go back to the Excel spreadsheet, I could say, take this range of data and I could copy and paste it wherever I want. And since these are just values, it copies those values accordingly. You know, if I took like range of formulas and I copy them, those formulas get copied and they adjust for the cells it's referencing. So if I needed to get them aligned, I could. Okay. I can get that data aligned such that. Not sure why I did that. So that I can set up my formulas accordingly to do that kind of work. So, and additionally, you can also do other kinds of features like since you can format individual cells and rows, you can set up alignment. You can do other types of functions. So inside of Excel, I can say I can add a row by right-clicking over on the number of the row, say insert, and it actually physically inserts a row here, right? Or I can go delete a row by doing the same thing, and I can delete the row, and it will delete everything across that row. Now, if you wanted to spread out your number, say this is your formula for how you want to do a dates, you can say, all right, well, this is my format date. So I can say format cell, and in my date type, I can say I want to list it as, say, this format of year dash month dash day, in which case it'll flip it to that format because it's recorded as a 1/23/2003. But I decided that I wanted to use that particular format instead, and I can format painter it along those lines. In this case, based on this date, which is start of a class of a month ago, if I change it to today's date, it is now February's date, and if I wanted to say what is 180 days from today, I can go this plus 180, and that'll tell me that 180 days from today is August 20th in that context, because it understands cell reference plus what you're doing from a formula perspective. So that's another reason why January 1st, 180 days from January 1st is that date comes June 30th. So you know roughly what half of the year is, right? So you can also do fills, you can bold, change colors of fonts, you can change direction of where things align. So there's lots of different things you do within or you can hit and Control N and make a new spreadsheet. So there's lots of different things you can do with inside the worksheet, right? And like I said, all formulas start with the equal sign. That tells Excel you're trying to attempt to fill out a formula. Now you could do it based on a function, which is what this is. You can base it on direct cells references. So if I wanted to say equal this cell, then it'll also then literally tell me what's in that contents of that cell. If I wanted to say, in this case, that's why it says equal cell plus 180, it knew how to add 180 days to it. If I wanted to do something like a whole range of stuff, I could do this, which then tells me the collective numbers of all those together based on multiple columns and multiple rows at the same time. So or if I wanted to do average, I can also do average that way. And when you start typing out a function, it will actually try to help you along those lines on the spelling of that function. So if I want to do an average of all the grades, this tells me your average is an 82%. So and you can then get into other things like, well, maybe I want my decimal percentage to be way higher than 2%. Well, I could say five decimal points long, and it'll convert that over for me built into the math itself, right? So so Excel is very powerful in manipulating things very quickly. It is possible to do quite a bit with it. There's some of the most common functions you would use is the sum, the average, min, max, if to determine true, false type statements or logic, the now, today, and count or count a, count if, count blank, right? So these are some of the basic ones that everybody gets to use over time. Additionally, when you have these types of errors like name, num, null, reference value. That tells me it is a problem with the formula and how it's written, and Excel is having difficulty resolving that information. So I just went through a ton of stuff. Is there any questions on anything I just went through? Okay. Good. Either I'm really good, or maybe you guys have been familiar with Excel before. I don't know. Okay. There's also the way to take your tabular data and do VLOOKUPs or HLOOKUPs, V being vertical, H being horizontal, looking for what you're looking exactly in the column ranges you want to look in, and it'll tell you whether or not it's an approximate or exact match. You can put that all into the formula, and it'll come back with what it is. Here's a link on from Microsoft. It's so website and how to get those to actually function correctly. Usually some of the more annoying ones to set up initially, but once you get them there, you build into your tabular data, you build in some VLOOKUPs, and you can rapidly get into data analysis very quickly to help answer things. So you can answer business logic through data analysis within Excel. So ultimately, you can get the answers to, do I do something or don't do something based on what I'm seeing from trends and information in a recording. So some people even export data as CSVs and import it into Excel, and then build them into those preset formulas, and it'll kick out an answer that they can just immediately take action on based on just whatever the latest information is. So like day traders and stuff, right? They use it for that reason. So they have an idea how to suddenly jump the market quick enough so they can make money off of stock trading, for instance, because they're seeing rapid trends in certain things. So I went through there and I gave you some idea of, let's see, I didn't do filtering. So if I went and set up like a filter here, which is on a under data set filter, I highlighted what I want to become a filter. I now have this, so I can then down click this and it'll tell me these numbers to see. And I can say, all right, show me everything that has line 74 in it, in this case. So then it will hide the other ones that are not part of that particular range of data, so that I can look for particular pieces of information. So if I wanted to say, give me everything that say is greater than, greater than 90 in this context, it'll then show me those two rows out of the data that actually meet that criteria. Alternatively, you could also do something like, it's under reviews data validation. Yeah, we'll do data validation. So for every whole number, I could change it so I could input errors here, such that it will only be valid if they are, say, 1 to 100, right? Because you don't want to have invalid data in your entry. So if I put like 44,000, it'll come back saying that this doesn't match that criteria because it exceeded the range in the data validation. Additionally, if I want to do conditional formatting, I could say, I could build myself, let's say greater than, say 89. I could make it so that it will also highlight information such that, let's make it bold and that color behind a yellow. So I can make it say everything near these values, if anything's over 89, it now will automatically bold those for me. So, and you can leave that logic in so that you can build your tables to automatically start highlighting stuff to give you that thing. So in the business sense, you can say, all right, well, these people are doing, I'm low on inventory here based on some number value range. And you can say, oh, well, then I need to go and get that many of these types of things based on what my inventory looks like. So and you can also rapidly like undo up to like 30 or 40 layers. So okay. Any questions? All right. are spreadsheets mainly be used by accountants? The answer is, while that was true before, it is not necessarily the case today. In fact, they're mostly used by scientists and engineers who are analyzing data. Teachers use them for doing grade books and keeping track of personnel records. Accountants use it for tracking financial statements, but it's really used for just data analytics in general. Now, big data analytics is a term that you've heard of recently. Excel had a limitation until a couple of years ago that it can only do 1 million rows of information at a time. So big data analytics got into things where they needed millions to tens of millions to hundreds of millions to analyze results of sensor data, for instance, right? So they had to build in better apps that could handle specifically that kind of load. Well, they've expanded Excel here the last couple of years that now does a better job of that too. So it's a very powerful business tool because you can use it to analyze, track anything, or analyze anything. It is a way to do a database as a collection of related data. It's a way to organize your data by rows and columns and to common features and descriptions. You can also use it for determining design of how to track and understand and analyze your data from a business perspective. So you can use it in lots of different ways. So you can also format paste. You saw me do that where over here in Excel where I went and right click here, copy paste, format across different things for a copy of this. So this one is probably based on a formula. So that's why that didn't happen. But whereas this one is change the font and coloring as needed, right? So once you understand what your attributes of your individual cells are, then you can understand how the format header will actually start to spread that information between multiple cells with that. So if you have large amounts of data, it's always best to get your data in there first and then organized in a manner that made sense as you did it, labeled as you go, headers, labels, entry of data, and do it in a methodical manner to get that point. Once you get the data entered, then you can build it into a manner that starts to make sense, and you can fix any doesn't make sense in this context type logic. And then from there, you can start building your actual tables. Then you can build your formulas, and you can then explore into your logic on it, right? And so it's the biggest thing is getting the data in there first, and then organize that data in such a manner that it actually answers the question you're trying to accomplish. When you want to print data from Excel, you need to make sure you do page layout, print area, and you have to clear a print area or set your print area. And when you do that, then you go to the print function, and it will come up saying a preview of only that which you've covered within that particular spreadsheet, so that you know how so you know what parts of the spreadsheet you want to be able to print. If you have data spread across all over the place without that defined, you can literally have multiple pages printed that doesn't have useful data in it. So I'll get more into page mode later in another lesson. You can hide data too as need be. Say you don't want to show, maybe all you're looking for is the final scores from those particular classes. You could do right click on the columns or on the rows and say hide data. And you can quite literally make those rows just vanish so that they don't work for copy and paste and or printing that way. So, and if you like double click on a set of rows there on these little borders, it'll spread it out as expected, right? So instead, or you could drag it this way to make it as big as you want. Hope that all made sense. It's a way to manipulate data. The F1 key gets you to a help thing in case you're looking for something you can't find. Additionally, inside of Excel, there's also the search bar up here that lets you search up different topics so you can look for things. Right. So if I just wanted to say, it helps if I actually highlight some data. In this case, I can also rapidly build pictures of charts and graphics based on highlighted data that you get in there. We'll get into a lesson of what that actually means later. From the side of the Muse website, like I said, Muse was built by a bunch of us professors at CTU to use as a alternative version of a textbook, to get it to the point that maybe someday that we can actually drop the need for students to have to buy books and instead have a dedicated website that they just go to for all their course material. So within Muse, these are different things you can get on different topics within Excel: spreadsheet formatting, data manipulation, integration. This class today was basically most of the spreadsheet formatting was covered. Additionally, there's a nice little website on how to make Excel, to learn about Excel in order to become better at it, more effective at it. And or ultimately, if you just wanted to have more of my voice, I have a YouTube channel out there where I've been recording the last couple years worth of posts about IT254 and IT417 that I'm now posting on YouTube, that you can then go and download my previous videos for these same types of lessons, or see how this class has changed over the last couple of years. So yeah, any questions so far with any of this material? No. Okay. Well, like I said, I will make this PDF of this briefing package available to you. You'll be able to download the video after the fact from the CTU's website. At the end of the course, I'll upload these to YouTube, or you can go to my past YouTube channels and check out my previous classes of this particular thing. In either context, you'll have all this material you got to see in front of you available to you as need be. I hope if you have any questions, you reach out to me. If you have concerns about anything, if you think anything becomes difficult, definitely reach out. Don't forget that your discussion boards are worth 33% of your grade. So a lot of people who get F's and D's in this class is because they don't bother going to the discussion board, even though they do the IntelliPath homework. So that can't emphasize that enough. It's a third of your overall grade. So IntelliPath's 2/3, discussion board's 1/3. You got to do both to complete the circle. You got to fill in all the missing data, complete the pie, right? So biting off one section of pie doesn't get you all the way there. Well, if there's no questions, I'm out of material for this particular session. So all right, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you for attending the first week's live session for IT254.